Welcome to this edition of Head to Head. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 366 of the podcast. And on this episode, I'm talking about the early struggles of Mets outfielder Juan Soto. The New York Mets were viewed to have won the offseason when they signed outfielder Juan Soto, and things so far have not gone as planned. As for this recording, Soto is batting .233 with 10 home runs and 28 RBIs, and was recently called out for his lack of hustle. This is just what we do with high-priced athletes. We harp on their struggles until they get their act together. This is a guy who we expect to hit near 300, hit 30 to 40 homers, and drive in well more than 100 runs. What started the talk about Juan Soto's early struggles is this comment the outfielder made to Mike Puma of the New York Post. Quote, "It's definitely different. I had the best hitter in baseball hitting behind me. I was getting more attacked and more pitches in the strike zone, less intentional walks, and things like that. I was pitched differently last year." End quote. That is definitely something that Mets fans did not want to hear in that moment, and I think that really was an ill-advised comment from Juan Soto. We don't want to hear about what you did last year with the New York Yankees playing with Aaron Judge. You decided you were big enough to go to the Mets and be a superstar on your own. Nobody feels bad for you that you're no longer playing with the best hitter in baseball. You're being paid like you're supposed to become the best hitter in baseball. Those comments may be truthful, but they're way too revealing about Soto's mindset. He needed to act like he is the superstar who is up to the challenge of being the highest paid player in the history of baseball. Just look at how Aaron Judge has reacted to losing Juan Soto. He just quietly goes out there and has 21 home runs so far this season, second in all of baseball, behind only Shohei Ohtani. He didn't complain about the fact that the Yankees lost Juan Soto. Now, there have been other productive guys on the Yankees now. Cody Bellinger has been good. Paul Goldschmidt has been good, but we all know that they're not Juan Soto. Aaron Judge has not complained about the loss of Juan Soto. Meanwhile, the guy who left the Yankees, Juan Soto, has publicly complained about not having Aaron Judge by his side. I kind of think that's a problem. And fair or unfair, it kind of gives Mets fans the feeling that this guy doesn't want to be here. Now, I don't believe that. What I believe is that Juan Soto wanted to go to the team that made the highest bid. I think that's the biggest reason he's now playing with the New York Mets. It's not because of the strength of the organization. It's not because of the bright future and all of the winning they may have. No, he went there because they gave him a boatload of money. And you can't blame him. It's an historic contract. He's the highest paid athlete ever on one singular contract. The healthiest way right now to view this Juan Soto deal is we are only in the first year of a 15-year contract. Not all of it is going to come down to how this first year pans out. Francisco Lindor was traded to the New York Mets and did not have a great first season. That first year with the Mets, Lindor hit 20 home runs and 63 RBIs, and Lindor was given a significant $341 million, and he is now the most beloved member of the New York Mets. I get it, things are different here because Soto got over $700 million. People are going to view that differently. They think that Juan Soto right now should be the best player in baseball, that he should be Barry Bonds, that he should be Shohei Ohtani, that he should be Aaron Judge. He's not. My point is, Soto is not just going to be what he is this first year with the New York Mets. This is a long-term deal. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs, and there are going to be some in-betweens. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about Juan Soto is not just because he's somebody that everyone wants to talk about right now because we are in June of the baseball season and everybody sounds like they want to come to a final judgment about Juan Soto when the reality is how people feel about the Juan Soto deal is going to come down to how he performs in October. I mean, Juan Soto could salvage this first year no matter how it plays out by having a huge October like he had with the New York Yankees. Juan Soto was one of the biggest reasons why the Yankees made the World Series last year. Let's say for the purpose of this podcast that Soto has that 20 homer, 63 RBI season that Lindor had his first year, but has a massive postseason and leads the Mets to a World Series title. All will be forgiven. None of you will care about his poor performance during the regular season if he plays like one of the best players in baseball in the postseason. When you spend the kind of money that the Mets have spent on Soto, how we judge the deal really should come down to, did this team win in October? And in the case of this player, most importantly, was he a big reason why? Like if Juan Soto proves to be a difference maker come October, none of this regular season struggle is going to mean anything to anyone. I remember growing up when the New York Yankees traded for one of the biggest stars in all of baseball, Alex Rodriguez, and he had a huge first season with the Yankees in 2004. He had 34 home runs with 106 RBIs, but struggled that postseason and future postseasons and wasn't fully embraced by the Yankees fan base until he helped them win the World Series in 2009. I agree with all of the takes. When you pay a guy like you're paying Juan Soto, he probably should be one of the best players in the sport during the regular season. He should be putting up big numbers. And by the way, I do think by season's end, Juan Soto is probably going to have at least 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. He's going to go through a hot streak. But my point is, even if he doesn't and only drives in 60 runs this entire regular season, he can make up for it if he had a huge postseason that helps lead the Mets to a World Series title. What irks me about publicly calling out an athlete like this is that the people leading the charge are the ones who are against these long-term deals in the first place. I mean, people love to have rants that you should never give a Major League Baseball player a 10-year contract. It's too long-term of a commitment. They say things like he's not worth the money. No one player can have this kind of impact on a baseball team. And there is some truth into what they are saying. Baseball has a history of some really bad long-term contracts. But what they don't talk about enough is there have been successful ones as well. I mean, Bryce Harper going to the Philadelphia Phillies has been a recent success story. The Phillies have gone to a World Series with him and have been contending every year that Harper has been on the Philadelphia Phillies. I think Manny Machado has been a success story for the San Diego Padres. They have been contending for a postseason appearance every year he's been a member of the San Diego Padres. The reason that we're fixated on Juan Soto is because of the money, and it's because of New York. It's the Mets. He used to play for the Yankees, and I'm sure that fan base is kind of happy he's not having that same kind of success he had with them. I am of the belief that you shouldn't really have any judgment on the Juan Soto contract until year 3. That's when you're going to get some kind of feeling that it's going to work out or not. Like if he's still struggling through 3 seasons playing with the New York Mets, you can call me, we can talk about it. That would be very bad for the New York Mets. But we are in June of his first season with the team. This is also something that doesn't get brought up enough. The sport of baseball is full of failure. Even the best players in the sport go through really bad periods. I mean, Aaron Judge was struggling at the beginning of last season until he caught on fire and had one of the best regular seasons ever. I do think some of the talk about Juan Soto right now is silly. I mean, we're not even at the All-Star break. I mean, there's a chance he could have a hot month and then be in the All-Star game. I get why you want to talk about him. He's the sport's highest paid player. Some of you think he's overrated. He's not a very good defensive outfielder, but he is without a doubt one of the best hitters in the game. I really wanted my team, the Boston Red Sox, to get Juan Soto. Some of the analysis of Soto's struggles are just really reaching, in my opinion. I mean, we're talking about how he's unhappy with the New York Mets. Maybe the guy's just unhappy because he's not performing at the level he wants to right now. I mean, obviously Juan Soto is feeling some kind of pressure. I don't think he thinks he needs to be the best player in the history of the sport, but one could understand if he was feeling that way. I can understand that, but at the same time, I don't particularly feel bad for Juan Soto because he put the pressure on himself by choosing the New York Mets. He went to a team where he would be viewed as the savior of the franchise, the missing piece to it all. They're a team that just went to the NLCS. They viewed themselves as a Juan Soto away from winning it all. That's one of the reasons why I think everyone should hold their analysis, because if the New York Mets don't even make it to the NLCS, then all of the Juan Soto talk is going to get even more volatile. The talk about him is so intense because he plays in New York City, and what's kind of ironic is the fact that if he had stayed with the New York Yankees and had similar struggles, I don't think we would be talking about it as much because he would be playing with Aaron Judge, and Aaron Judge is the face of the New York Yankees, and we all love Francisco Lindor, but now most people view Juan Soto as the face of the New York Mets. He is the one they are putting all of the pressure on. All of the talk is about Juan Soto. I personally have always held a high opinion of Juan Soto. I think last season was his absolute best season as a Major League Baseball player, and it just so happened to be in a walk year. I mean, that's the other thing that everyone is ignoring. This guy had an all-time great season during a walk year. He was highly motivated to get that money. He was highly motivated to be one of the best players in all of baseball. I'm not saying he's not motivated now, but Juan Soto has not always been as good as he was last season. I mean, I remember him with the San Diego Padres. He was putting up good numbers with the Padres, but he was not the guy he was later on with the New York Yankees. He's not that guy who had that epic at-bat that led the Yankees all the way to the World Series. Juan Soto was on a different level last year, a level he has not yet reached with the New York Mets. That's really one of the biggest issues that Soto is dealing with right now, is he is being compared to himself. Just last season, we saw him have a great year with the Yankees where he hit over 40 homers, had a near 300 batting average, and was the best player during the baseball postseason. That's the guy the New York Mets thought that they were getting, and so far, he has not been that guy. I highly doubt that Juan Soto is going to get to 40 homers this year. Do I think that 30 is out of the realm of possibility? Absolutely not. He is a very good hitter. He could go through a hot streak. Aaron Judge himself had an historic walk year with the New York Yankees where he hit an American League record 62 home runs. What's the difference? Aaron Judge was returning to the New York Yankees. He has a history with the team. He was already one of the most beloved New York Yankees of all time. Juan Soto with the Mets was walking into a new situation, and he's being compared to the player he was with the New York Yankees. That's the danger of baseball free agency. I always use the example of Albert Pujols. When Albert Pujols went to the LA Angels, fans of that team didn't care about the Albert Pujols that was with the St. Louis Cardinals. They wanted him to be that exact same guy, so they were not going to be kind to an Albert Pujols who was no longer that player. Whereas if Albert Pujols had stayed with the Cardinals, he could have aged gracefully. That's just an example. I don't think this Juan Soto Soto deal is going to turn out to be Albert Pujols with the LA Angels. I think Soto is going to fare much better, but I am going to say it is possible that Juan Soto's year with the Yankees is going to be better than any year he has with the New York Mets. And that's probably something that Mets fans don't want to hear, because they want Juan Soto to have a 50-plus homer season. They want Juan Soto to win an MVP. I just don't know if that will ever be the case. I don't think there will ever be a year where we go, the best player in all of baseball is Juan Soto. And because he's getting paid all of that money, New York fans expect him to be that. I mean, when are we going to admit that probably the best thing that ever happened to Juan Soto was him being traded to the New York Yankees? If he had had his walk year with the San Diego Padres, he doesn't put up those numbers. He doesn't help the team make the World Series, and he doesn't get the single biggest contract in the history of the sport. Everything went right for Juan Soto last year, and so far this year, that has not been the case. So yes, I have my opinions on Juan Soto, and I have a feeling of where things might play out with him and the New York Mets. I think he's going to continue to be a perennial all-star player. He's going to be one of the best hitters in the sport. I just don't think we're ever going to go, the face of baseball right now is Juan Soto. I never felt that way about the player. He helped the Nationals win a World Series and led the Yankees to another. He's a great player, and one the Mets should be happy they have on the roster. I do think he's going to be a big piece of a team that's going to make the playoffs, and that's where he's going to make his money. If the Mets win the World Series, the contract is validated immediately. What's interesting about baseball is the biggest market teams are the ones now giving the biggest contracts. I mean, the Dodgers are the ones who paid Shohei Ohtani. The New York Mets are the ones who paid Juan Soto. It used to be the Texas Rangers came out of nowhere to give Alex Rodriguez that mega deal. The Angels, like I mentioned earlier, are the ones who paid Albert Pujols. Once upon a time, it was the Seattle Mariners who paid a boatload of money to second baseman Robinson Cano. These guys could go to these teams and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, because we weren't talking about the Seattle Mariners every day. We weren't talking about the Texas Rangers every day, and we certainly weren't talking about the LA Angels every day. But because it's New York, because it's the Mets, because they have a loud fan base, we are all talking about Juan Soto and this contract and how it's going to look each and every single day. How do we feel about this deal right now? In a month, we could feel completely different. But make no mistake, every single opinion about it is going to be heard. And the only thing that's going to make the noise go away is if Juan Soto performs like he's one of the best players in baseball. That's why nobody's talking about the Shohei Ohtani deal anymore, because it's already been validated. He had that historic first year with the Dodgers, and they won the World Series. Now, everything else after that feels like bonus. And by the way, Ohtani is going to remain one of the best players in the sport, and he's going to pitch by mid-season, apparently. If he continues to perform at this level, the headlines are going to continue. I mean, just wait until the All-Star break. If he doesn't make the All-Star game, there's going to be loud, obnoxious opinions about that. But I'm here to say you should wait until at least the third year Juan Soto is with the New York Mets to make your final judgment about how you feel about this fit with this player. And I by no means think that I'm above criticizing Juan Soto. I understand wanting to go against a guy who's making an absurd amount of money. I'm just here to say that it's June and we're already talking about it. He just got the deal. The team is doing well record-wise. Let's see how he does the rest of this regular season and the postseason. I think Juan Soto is going to emerge by season's end as one of the best hitters in baseball, like he's been for a long time now. The one thing he can do that's going to make everyone shut up and say he's worth the money is help the New York Mets win a World Series title. Thanks for listening to this edition of Head to Head. I'm Cam McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so please rate, review, and subscribe.